out here today in Baldwinsville at a place that I spent a lot of time at back in the early 90s. We're actually here at Benwood Auto Parts. David Fink is with us right now. Of course, it's been a tough stretch for Central New York racing people. We lost his dad. When was it? The fall, right? Somewhere right around in there?
End of August.
End of August. Yeah. And, of course, his dad was Harvey Fink, and we miss him terribly. So I wanted to share some stories about the Fink family, kind of how they got into this crazy business, and, get to know them a little bit while sharing some stories about Dad as well.
There's plenty of stories about Harvey, that's for sure.
He was an interesting man, wasn't he?
He was, definitely.
Kind of a one-of-a-kind, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. They even I can remember my grandmother saying, once he was born, and they broke the mold for sure. So
yeah, I think they looked at it and said, we got to get rid of this mold. So it's something else. But
definitely.
But talk about a man with passion, right?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that he decided to do. And it didn't matter if it was something that, he knew, was trained in or whatever. He threw himself in 1,000%. Mm-hmm. Whether it was, in the auto salvage business, as a firefighter.
I didn't know he was a firefighter.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He actually was a fire chief for
I could see that.
Hamlet of McLean.
Oh, no kidding.
Back before we moved to Baldwinsville.
Well, one of the first things when I first met him was his accent, and you told me that came from where you guys grew up, at Seekonk Speedway. Was it New Hampshire or?
We were from Rhode Island, and Seekonk, as far as the racetrack goes, Seekonk's just over the border of where Rhode Island and Mass meet, and it was really the place to be for. Short track racing. So
this would have been what, early, mid-'60s, somewhere around there?
Early 60s.
Early 60s. So before you were even born, your family was going to the races. So
yeah, he was a race fan, and then he ended up, this is as he's a 21-year-old, we'll say, went into building cars and owning race cars. He said that he drove once, just like practice laps. And he thought he was out there, going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then somebody just goes, whizzing on by. But it was the cars then were like the precursors to the NASCAR modifieds of today.
Okay. So like 40s bodies, 30s bodies on there, right? Okay.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep. The coupes, open wheel front, that kind of thing. So he built and owned them, and he had one driver in mind that I can remember. It was, wasn't a name and stuff, but they were racing with the likes of Bugsy Stevens and Bouchards and guys like that. That
went on for fame.
That
in
went
NASCAR.
on, to bigger names. Yeah.
Well, it was big in that area, right? And it was all asphalt.
Well, yeah,
wasn't
that's
it?
all. Yeah, they're really. I know Rhode Island had a dirt track, but that's something I think from the 20s or something like that. It's one of the first dirt tracks, if I remember my history right.
Didn't stay there long though. You actually moved because at some point he was a farmer, right?
Yeah, well, he was as a kid in the scrap business and stuff. And
he was in that as a kid. Okay.
Yeah, that was the kind of like the Fink family business in Rhode Island.
So your grandfather?
My grandfather, my great grandfather.
Oh, they'd been in it for a while. Okay.
Yeah, so that was the family business. And then he had enough in, like 70 or something of that and wanted to go into dairy farming. So, again, one of these things, he didn't have really that kind of experience or whatever, but this is what I want to do. And he threw himself in at 100% and became a very good dairy farmer.
So you moved up here in, what was it, 1971? Groton is where you moved to?
Yeah.
Okay. So brought the family with him. Had to be quite a change.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, I was a 9-year-old at the time, and I learned how to break down milking equipment, and, twice a day, and feed cows, and take care of cows, and give cows injections with, needles, and, all that stuff that goes along with, farming. It's a totally different life,
It is. I married a dairy farmer myself, and one of the big things there is there's no days off.
Oh yeah. That's how it was. For sure.
Christmas, you still got to go out. And,
New
Year's, whatever.
Cows don't look at calendars.
Yeah, you can't put them in a garage like a race car for a week and come back. So,
exactly.
So, were you happy with that? Did you like that, or?
Yeah, we always talked about that, and the stresses of, say the salvage business, in the later years and stuff. And we would talk about, yeah, you know what, it's not, it was a lot better than you gave it credit for.
Really?
Because it was, it was more of a wholesome, it wasn't the rat race and the competitive this, that, and the other thing. You
right, we got to meet these numbers by Friday.
You did your job, and at the end of the day, you were tired and what have you, but you slept good.
But it's a different lifestyle.
It's a
really
totally
is.
different lifestyle.
Yeah. My wife says they take day vacations. You don't go leave for a week and, and go someplace unless somebody can take care of them. So when did you get out of that as a family and get back into the salvage
Well, and
business?
he got the itch again to go back into auto salvage, and that was in '77. And we actually
was that when we moved to this place?
Yeah, well,
in Baldwinsville.
What we ended up doing, and this was a chance, and a lot of things were chance deals, as you'll find out. But we took a trip to Rhode Island. We had basically had the farm sold. For some reason, we needed to go to Rhode Island for something, I don't know, grandparents or something. So it was just a matter of like 2 days, a drive. And while he was there, he was looking at salvage yards. And then we're on the way back. Now, as kids, he starts talking about moving back to Rhode Island, and we were kind of like, no.
Oh, really?
No, we want to stay.
You liked it up here.
We want to stay here. So, and he was one that he would get a Sunday paper from anywhere, what have you, and memorize every classified ad. So if you ever asked him, like, geez, I need a, whatever, Northwest wind shifter. Oh, there's a guy for sale, he's got one for sale here. I mean, that's how he was. He just remembered everything like that. And so we're driving back, and he's going, oh, there's a place in Baldwinsville. It's right off the thruway for sale. So we take the exit here off the thruway, come up here to what's, Benwood Auto Parts at the time, and, and he's kind of looking, whatever, and we're, as kids, we're going, we're here in New York, So
and it's a nice area. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. It's a great area,
especially back in 1977.
Yeah.
That wasn't really built up yet. There was still a lot of farms. Yeah. But the city's there. There's stuff to do. There's a lake nearby. What's not to like, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it was one of these deals. Like, we kind of put the pressure on him. Like, if you're going to do the salvage yard thing, do it here. And, so he cut the deal for that, and, we cut the deal for the farm, and, moving up here in the summer of '77.
Was racing still something that you guys had a feeling you might get back to, or was that as far away as
I always had an interest as a kid in, I kind of followed NASCAR from what bits you could back then, which was like ABC, Wide World Sports,
the glory
highlights.
days.
There really wasn't much in the mid '70s.
Yeah.
To be able to see, but I like that kind of stuff.
Well, I slipped. They used to have those figure 8 races on Wide World. Remember?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Indy 500 was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Back in the '70s. Remember they'd put it on the radio and then air it later at night.
Oh yeah.
On ABC. So you remember Salt Walther's crash and all that stuff, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that, but I think my mother and father had put that as like a chapter, and they closed the book on it, and they moved on, and that was that. So racing didn't come back in until like the late '80s.
Okay.
When I kind of had the opportunity to start with SCCA road racing, stuff like that, Watkins Glen.
Yeah, before the local dirt stuff. And I think
we got involved with that, just before that. And then, because my interest in that kind of, got going, then I took a notice of what was going on around here.
Okay, so there's other forums. And that's where we're going to leave this part 1 for you guys. So we're going to pick up part 2 when the actual racing starts, because David was actually the first one doing some road course racing way before Brewerton was even a thought in the Fink family's mind. All right, so that's where we're going to leave it for this part. Hit that blue E down there, guy. That'll subscribe you. Let you know every time we're talking to somebody cool and sharing some memories. So part 2, we'll get into the family's racing beginning, and we'll probably even do a part 3. So, David, thanks for making time for me today, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Doug.